Hey guys, it is NCS Fan 001 here for another trophy list analysis video, though this one's going to be a little bit different from our normal ones. Anyway, today's game is the newest release of the original Siren, or Forbidden Siren as it was known in, I believe, Japan. And this is the new PS4 PS5 version available through the streaming service. Now, you might remember that we actually got a version of Siren. I think it was just a straight port to the PS4. And we got that back during maybe 2016 or 2017, so a very, very long time ago at this point. And I did do a trophy list analysis of that game. The original version of this game only had 12 trophies and no platinum, whereas this new version comes with 23 trophies worth 1,350 points, and it does include a platinum, along with 8 golds, 8 silvers, and 6 bronzes. So I was actually talking with Dregit on PSN Profiles. Well, actually we're talking on Discord, but we know each other from PSN Profiles. And he actually gave me a cool idea for future videos of doing a sort of comparison video between these different games or between different versions of games. Now that we're starting to see this happen a little bit more often, as we've gotten those other versions of Toy Story 3, so the streaming version as well as the Toy Story 3 that was on console back on the PS3. Then of course we got the original version of Sly Cooper, and then we got the new streamed version of it that you can play on PS4 and PS5 with a different trophy list. So it could be kind of interesting to take a look at some of these new sort of re-releases of games and just, see what happens, see how the trophy lists are different. So not only are we going to be looking at the new trophy list, but we're also going to be comparing it along the way with the original trophy list. So let's go ahead and take a look at the new list for Siren. As always, I want to give my quick disclaimer. I'm not some super ultra massive mega fan of the Siren franchise. I am looking at this trophy list from the perspective of a trophy hunter specifically. That being said, I know a little bit about this franchise, but I do know that it's a very, very strange survival horror franchise. It's quite difficult, actually, especially the original game, just because very dark environments, kind of clunky controls. The sight jacking mechanic was far from refined in the original, so it's got some old school quirks to it. You also can't actually kill the enemies, you can only knock them out, stuff like that. So it's a pretty challenging game. Along with this, we got Forbidden Siren 2, which I think might have only been released in Japan, although I could be completely wrong on that. And then we got Siren Blood Curse, which was an early PS3 title from before trophies were a thing. So we're starting out with our Platinum Trophy, Resist the Call, for unlocking all trophies in Siren. That is the trophy you get for unlocking all other trophies in a game if you are new to trophy hunting. So we're starting out with a couple of bronze trophies here. Start to a Bad Day. Complete Yesterday 2300 with Kyoyo Suda. Now that is basically the sort of prologue mission. That's the iconic one where you go in, you have to take over the truck, and then you have to drive it away, and then it doesn't really matter because the siren sounds and you get shot and fall off a cliff. So that's just your sort of prologue mission. That's going to be unmissable. Hanuta welcomes you. Complete all day 1 mission 1 objectives, and then a gold trophy called Umi Okuri. Complete all day 1 mission 2 objectives. Then we have Come to Hanuta, It's to Die For. That's a bronze for all day 2 mission 1 objectives. And Umagari, complete all day 2 mission 2 objectives, another gold trophy. And then we have Hanuta Grand Tour, a bronze for completing all day 3 mission 1 objectives. And Deliverance for completing all day 3 mission 2 objectives, another gold trophy. So looking back to the original Siren trophy list, there are 2 trophies called Hard Day's Work and what's the other one? Working Overtime. They are bronze and silver respectively, and those are for completing all day 1 and day 2 mission objectives. There's no trophy for day 3 mission objectives in the original game. So what this sort of involves is it means complete all of your main objectives, so just beat the game. But also, I'm assuming that it also means you have to complete all of the side objectives within the game, which can be potentially quite difficult. This can include distracting or knocking out a Shibito in a certain way, or finding a specific item, or even like sight jacking a certain thing. So that could be a little bit tougher because now you have to do it for all the levels in the game. The way that's written makes it look like there's really not a lot of levels, but I think they probably, I'm assuming that like mission 1 and mission 2 encompasses just the entirety of those days, which is like multiple missions per mission pretty much. It's like a combination of a bunch of missions, I believe. I could be wrong on that though. And then we have Hanuda's Many Treasures, a silver trophy for obtaining 50 archive items. There was an identical trophy called Avid Collector that was a bronze in the original for the exact same objective. Now we get to a bunch of miscellaneous and collectible or level-specific type trophies. We have Cold Case Discovery, a silver for discovering what remains of Namiko Yoshikawa. We have a Hero's Stake for discovering what remains of Koichi Shimura. That's a bronze. Cherished Possession, that is a gold trophy for discovering the beaded doll. Cryptid Proof, a silver for discovering the Tsukinoko. I'm sure I horribly butchered that. Another silver called Gojaku Mystery for discovering the Skyfish. Sounds about right, a bronze for receiving a fortune paper from the Mizu Hiruko Shrine. So all of those are just various miscellaneous and presumably level-specific trophies. The original game, I think, only had 2 really miscellaneous trophies like that. There was one called Shortcut. It was a bronze for reaching the road to Hirosaki in under 55 seconds as a specific character. And then there was Sibling Rivalry for using the umbrella to incapacitate Mina Onda with some help from a fire extinguisher. So those both sound like very level-specific miscellaneous trophies, but it looks like we have quite a few more in this game. And then there's Shibito Brainiac, that is for scoring 2,500 or more in the Brain Cell Revival game. Now, I have no idea what the Brain Cell Revival game actually is, and in the original trophy list, there was just one trophy related to it, but all you had to do, it was called Fun for the Family, all you had to do was play the Brain Cell Revival game, so nothing actually difficult. So I don't know how hard 2,500 or more points actually is in that game, but given it's a gold trophy, I assume that means it's going to be fairly challenging. Alright, so now we get to yet another set of various miscellaneous and more difficult trophies. A silver trophy called Shibito Bestiary for defeating all Shibito variants. I feel like this is probably something that's going to come naturally while going for all mission objectives. I'm trying to think. I guess that means like the policeman type Shibito, then the various ones that can only attack with melee weapons. Maybe the flying ones are included unless that was only in Blood Curse. The sniper ones, the boss. I think there might be a bug type of them or something. So I feel like that one's probably going to be unmissable if you're doing all mission objectives, but there wasn't a trophy like that in the original. Now we have 2 gold trophies. The first one is Arm Yourself for use every weapon to defeat an enemy. So even though the image is of a gun, I assume it means use every type of weapon potentially in the game. So that's not just guns. I think there's revolvers and sniper rifles, and then there's at least like 8 or 10 different melee weapons in the game. So that one could be a little bit annoying because some of them might only be available on specific levels at like one point in time. And then there's Do You See What I See for Sightjack Every Companion. That's honestly pretty self-explanatory. It's just going to take the entire game and remembering to do it. But there's no trophies for anything like those in the original game. Next up, we have a silver trophy. There's no time for completing 10 missions in time attack mode. So there was a time attack trophy in the original game, but all it was endless challenge, play time attack. So you just had to play the game mode, which was pretty straightforward, as well as that other trophy that was technically timed. So completing 10 missions in time attack is probably not going to be the easiest thing in the world, unless the time limits are really, really generous. Next up, we have a gold trophy Survivalist. Complete 5 missions without you or your companion taking damage. Now, quite a few people apparently already have this trophy, surprisingly, because I feel like that one would have been a lot more difficult, just because the AI in this game is pretty stupid, especially the friendly AI. Well, then again, I guess the enemy AI is also not particularly smart. I also don't know if for trophies like this and the time attack, if you can do the same one over and over again, because presumably then you could just find one time attack mission you're good at and do it over and over again. And then for Survivalist, you could theoretically just maybe redo the first prologue mission over and over again. And because there's no companions in that one, so it really shouldn't be that hard to get through without taking damage once you know the route. And then we finish off the list with 2 more silver trophies. Creeping Shadow for completing 5 missions without being spotted by a Shibito, which again, that one might not be that hard to do if you can just replay the same mission. And then Trust the Buddy system. Complete 5 missions without asking your companion to wait. I wouldn't be surprised if that's something that just happens naturally if you're trying to speedrun through missions. But those trophies, there were no equivalents back in the original trophy list. So if you look back at the original Siren, you had what looks like a couple of story-related trophies at the beginning, a few trophies for just unlocking and playing different game modes. You had to find 50 of the archive items, which was identical to one of the trophies in the new game. There were a couple of level-specific trophies. You had to finish all mission objectives in days 1 and 2, but not in day 3. Another story-related trophy for the very end of the game, and then the original you did have to find all of the archive items, whereas you only have to get 50 of them in the new version of the game, unless they're all specifically tied to completing all of the objectives or something, in which case you would have to do it anyway. So overall, I definitely like this new trophy list, that they added in a lot more stuff, a lot more miscellaneous ideas, a lot more, I guess, replayability to the game. And of course, the fact that they added in a platinum trophy is, of course, fantastic. Now, this version, in some ways, I think is going to be easier, and in some ways is going to be harder than the original. Because the original, of course, had a more simplistic trophy list, and you didn't really have to jump into these other modes or finish levels in specific ways for the most part. But the thing is, with the original version, there was no rewind feature available like there is in this new version, presumably. I would assume that the rewind feature is available. And that would mean that when you inevitably fail missions several times, you don't necessarily have to restart from the very beginning. You can make save states all throughout and rewind a few seconds at a time if needed. So that is going to make the game a lot less stressful, I guess you could say, because you won't have to, redo whole missions if you screw up. But again, with the game being a product of its age and just the difficulty of the game, and with some of these trophies, I suspect this is still going to be on probably the higher end of difficulty so far for some of these older school games. I could see this one being probably a solid 5 out of 10 in difficulty, and in terms of time, I don't think the game is overly long, and if you have some idea of what you're doing, it's probably like a sub 20-hour platinum. So those are just my thoughts on the game. So thank y'all for watching the video. If you enjoyed this sort of different format for trophy list analysis videos, go ahead and let me know down in the comments. Also let me know if you played the original version, if you 100%ed it, what you thought of the difficulty and everything, and what you think of this list. So yeah, thank y'all for watching. See y'all back here real soon for some more content.